The severance papers hit my desk with that familiar sound of bureaucracy closing a door. 25 years of service, 8 of them building relationships across the Pacific, and it all came down to a single signature on HR paperwork. I'm Garrett Anderson, 50 years old, and I just got told my expertise was outdated. I didn't look at Ashley Morrison right away. Instead, I watched her fingers drum against her MacBook Pro, perfectly manicured nails tapping out some rhythm that probably matched her impatience to get this over with. She was staring at the quarterly projections on her monitor, not at me. The red line trending downward apparently justified ending a career that started when she was in middle school. "It's nothing personal, Garrett," Ashley finally said, making eye contact for the first time since I'd walked into her corner office. Her eyes had that startup founder look, all ambition and zero warmth. "We're pivoting to a leaner structure. The board wants measurable ROI, and frankly, your department—" She paused, searching for the corporate speak. "International relations is more of a legacy function. We need disruption, not diplomacy." I sat perfectly still, hands folded. The air conditioning in our San Francisco headquarters was cranked up high enough to freeze a side of beef. Before I tell you how I systematically dismantled this woman's career without raising my voice, I should mention, if you appreciate watching arrogance get its comeuppance, you might want to stick around for what happens next. "Ashley," I said, keeping my voice level, "we're 2 weeks out from finalizing the Tokyo partnership. The Memorandum of Understanding with Kobayashi Heavy Industries is sitting in legal right now. My relationship with Chairman Tanaka is the only reason they haven't walked during the acquisition rumors." Ashley actually laughed. Sharp, dismissive sound that reminded me of feedback from a broken microphone. She leaned back in her ergonomic chair, clasping her hands behind her head. "Tanaka needs our tech, Garrett. Let's not pretend tea ceremonies and knowing which way to bow are keeping this deal alive. It's the IP. It's the innovation. Your hand-holding doesn't generate revenue streams. We have AI translation now. We have video calls. We're good." The phrase hung there in the recycled office air like a toxic cloud. I looked around the conference room where I'd hosted dozens of international delegations. 25 years in the Navy taught me to read people, to understand that respect isn't just politeness. It's the foundation of any real partnership. This woman whose entire business philosophy came from TED Talks and LinkedIn posts was telling me that human relationships were decorative. "I see," I said, reaching for the pen. "I didn't sign yet. If I'm terminated today, effective immediately, I won't be present for the final signing ceremony in Tokyo on the 15th. "Correct," Ashley smirked, checking her Apple Watch. "I'll be leading the delegation. I've done my research. Plus, we're bringing some serious tech demos. Don't worry, I won't embarrass us." She paused. "Just sign the papers, Garrett. We're offering 3 months severance. That's generous considering the budget optimization." I uncapped the pen. Black ink. Permanent. "Ashley, the relationship with Kobayashi isn't transactional. It's built on trust that took years to establish. If I'm not there, Tanaka will view it as a breach of protocol. I'm happy to write a transition document explaining the specific requirements." Ashley waved her hand like she was swatting a fly. "No need. I don't want you cluttering our systems with legacy documentation. We're streamlining. Clean break. Pack your stuff, turn in your badge, and enjoy early retirement. Maybe take up golf." I signed my name. Clean, precise signature. But I wasn't signing my resignation. I was signing her professional death warrant. She was too arrogant to read the fine print of human nature. "Very well," I said, standing and straightening my jacket. "I didn't slam anything. I didn't make a scene. 25 years of military discipline taught me that the most devastating attacks are the ones your enemy never sees coming." "Great," Ashley said, already typing on her phone. "Leave your access card with security. And Garrett, don't take this personally. It's just business evolution." I walked out of that conference room knowing exactly what was going to happen next. Ashley thought she was trimming inefficiency. She had no idea she'd just severed the main artery of our biggest deal. The elevator descended past the lobby, past the parking garage, down to a level where careers go to die. But I wasn't dead yet. Not by a long shot. My apartment in Pacific Heights is quiet. No fluorescent lights, no open concept noise. Just me, my coffee, and the fog rolling over the Golden Gate Bridge like it had for decades before tech bros decided they could disrupt geography too. For the first 48 hours, I did nothing but sleep and drink good bourbon. I turned my phone off. I didn't check LinkedIn. I just let 25 years of military precision and 8 years of corporate politics drain out of my system. When I finally turned the phone back on, the notifications came in like artillery fire. 17 missed calls from the office, 6 voicemails from legal, and a chain of emails from the Tokyo team that Nicole from accounting had forwarded to my personal address. Bless her heart, some people still understand loyalty. I sat at my kitchen counter and opened the first email. Subject: urgent, dinner protocol. Confusion from Ashley Morrison to Japan team. Guys, why are they asking about seating arrangements? Just put Tanaka at the head table and fill in the rest. Why is this a 3-hour discussion? Figure it out and let's move forward. I smiled. Not a happy smile. The kind of smile a sniper gets when the target walks into the crosshairs. In Japan, the kamiza, the seat of honor, isn't just head of the table. It depends on door placement, garden views, guest hierarchy, and the specific history between companies. Put Tanaka in the wrong chair and you haven't made a seating mistake. You've told him he's subordinate to his own junior executives. You've insulted 3 generations of his family. I scrolled down. Subject: gift exchange. Need quick answer from Kobayashi admin to Ashley Morrison. Honorable Morrison-san, we inquire about the reciprocal gift ceremony. Anderson-san usually coordinates the specific vintage selection for the chairman. We have not received guidance. Please advise protocol. Ashley's response: tell them we're bringing corporate swag, high-end Bluetooth speakers, and some branded gear. The expensive stuff. They'll appreciate the tech. I actually laughed out loud. Bluetooth speakers for a 72-year-old traditionalist who collects Edo period ceramics. Ashley was bringing consumer electronics to a man who owned art worth more than her annual salary. I closed the laptop. I could have intervened. I could have called Nicole and told her to buy the 1994 Hakushu single malt that Tanaka treasured. I could have explained the seating protocol, but Ashley had been crystal clear. I was legacy baggage. If I helped now, I'd be proving her point that the company could function without me, even if I was pulling strings from the shadows. No. They needed to feel the full weight of my absence. That afternoon, I drove across town to visit Vincent Lawson, my old commanding officer turned defense contractor. Vincent lived in a house that smelled like pipe tobacco and old leather, filled with books about strategy and walls covered with unit citations. So, Vincent said, pouring me a scotch, they cut the anchor chain. With a hacksaw, I replied, 2 weeks before the signing. Vincent whistled low. Tactical suicide. Do they understand the clause structure? Ashley skimmed the executive summary, I said. She sees the Japanese market as a vending machine. Insert disruption, receive revenue. She doesn't understand that some machines have souls. And Tanaka? He's old school, values loyalty above quarterly projections. When he finds out I've been discarded like last quarter's marketing campaign, he won't scream. He'll just shut down. Vincent nodded, the silent withdrawal, most devastating maneuver in business warfare. What's your play? I'm going to Kyoto, I said. Vincent raised an eyebrow. To beg for your job back? No, I said, looking at the amber liquid in my glass. To attend the International Pacific Business Forum. It's next week at the Kyoto Convention Center. Vincent smiled slowly. And who sits on the advisory board of that forum? Kenji Tanaka, the chairman's son. Outstanding, Vincent raised his glass. You're not going to sabotage anything, Garrett. You're just going to exist. You're going to be visible, respected, and independently employed. Let them see the contrast between your professionalism and Ashley's amateur hour. Exactly, I said. I'm not fighting Ashley. I'm letting her fight herself. She's bringing tech demos to a respect contest. I left Vincent's house feeling like a weight had lifted. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Back home, I saw another email notification. Subject: where are the files? From Ashley Morrison. Garrett, if you deleted the contact lists and protocol documents, that's destruction of company property. Legal is CC'd. Where is the Japan Bible you mentioned? I hadn't deleted anything. I just hadn't organized it for her convenience. The files were buried in 8 years of carefully structured folders, labeled in a mixture of English and Romanized Japanese, organized by a logic that only I understood. I typed a response, then I deleted it. Instead, I opened a new browser tab and booked a first-class ticket to Tokyo. One way. While I was packing my garment bag with conservative business attire appropriate for Kyoto's traditional atmosphere, Ashley was apparently taking victory laps around the San Francisco office. According to Nicole, who was risking her own position to keep me updated via encrypted messages, Ashley had announced in the Monday all hands that the Tokyo deal was locked and loaded. She literally used the phrase, "slam dunk," Nicole texted. She told everyone that some people overcomplicate international business to justify their positions, but she's proving that American innovation speaks for itself. American innovation, that's what she called bringing consumer electronics to a ceremony honoring 70 years of US-Japan partnership. I landed in Tokyo on a Tuesday, 3 days before Ashley's delegation was scheduled to arrive. The humidity hit me like a warm blanket as I stepped out of Narita Airport. I took the express train to Kyoto, watching dense urban sprawl give way to green hills and traditional tile roofs. My hotel was a traditional ryokan in the historic district. Wooden floors, paper screens, and the kind of quiet that comes from centuries of practice. I wasn't there to relax, though. I had work to do. The Pacific Business Forum was a gathering of industry leaders, diplomats, and cultural attachés. I registered under my newly formed consulting LLC, which I'd incorporated about 6 hours after being terminated. The moment I walked into the main conference hall, I felt the shift, subtle but unmistakable. Several executives recognized me. Business cards were exchanged with proper protocol, 2 hands, studied carefully, treated with respect. And then I saw him. Kenji Tanaka, son of the Kobayashi chairman, standing near a display of renewable energy prototypes, looking politely bored while a British consultant droned about carbon markets. The trap was about to be set. I approached slowly. Military training taught me patience. I waited in his peripheral vision until there was a natural break in conversation, positioned where he could acknowledge me or ignore me as he chose. He turned. His eyes widened slightly, the only surprise a man of his position would ever show in public. "Anderson-san," he said, bowing appropriately. "I did not expect to see you here. My father believes you are in California preparing final documents for the signing." I bowed back, slightly deeper to show respect, but not so low as to appear subordinate. "Kenji-san, it is an honor. I'm afraid there has been a restructuring. I'm no longer with the company." I let the words hang there. No explanation, no complaints, no emotional appeals. Just facts, delivered with military precision. Kenji frowned. The temperature around us seemed to drop 5 degrees. "Restructuring?" "But the memorandum specifically requires continuity of liaison personnel." "Ms. Morrison is confident the deal stands on technical merits alone," I said carefully. "She believes personal relationships are legacy concerns." Kenji looked at me, really looked at me. He saw that I wasn't panicking. He saw that I was here, at a prestigious international forum, respected by his peers, while my former company was flying blind into a cultural minefield. "This is disturbing," Kenji said quietly. "My father values consistency above all else. He calls you the bridge of understanding. If the bridge is gone..." "I'm sure Ms. Morrison has everything under control," I said. "She mentioned bringing gifts, high-end speakers, I believe." Kenji's face went completely blank. "Speakers, Bluetooth speakers, the expensive ones." The silence stretched for exactly 3 heartbeats. Then Kenji spoke very carefully. "My father has been deaf in his left ear since a factory accident in 1987. I hadn't known that detail, but it explained everything. Why Tanaka always positioned himself carefully in meetings, why he preferred written summaries, why audio presentations never seemed to engage him. Ashley was bringing audio equipment to a man who couldn't properly hear stereo sound. "I'm here simply to maintain professional relationships," I said. "Please don't let my presence affect your business with my former employer. I wish them success." "You are very gracious, Anderson-san," Kenji said. "More gracious than they deserve." He bowed again, deeper this time. Then he walked toward the gardens, already reaching for his phone. I hadn't lit a match. I hadn't poured gasoline. I had simply told the truth in a room where reputation was harder currency than the dollar. In San Francisco, Ashley was probably practicing her presentation, thinking about the bonus she'd earned for streamlining operations. She had no idea that in Kyoto, the foundation of her career had just developed a hairline crack. The disaster unfolded in real time, transmitted to me through a series of bewildered messages from the Japanese administrative staff who still thought I was in charge. They didn't know I'd been terminated. They just thought I was delayed. Text from Yumi in reception. Anderson-san, the delegation arrived complaining loudly about jet lag in the lobby. Morrison-san is wearing dark sunglasses indoors. Is this a medical condition? I sat in a traditional tea house reading the message. Sunglasses indoors, in the lobby of a conservative Japanese corporation. It screamed either Yakuza or disrespectful tourist. Text from Yumi. They did not bring business cards. The young man Craig tried to share his contact information through his phone. Chairman Tanaka does not use such applications. There was awkward silence. I closed my eyes. The Meiji exchange is sacred ritual. You present cards with both hands, name facing the recipient. You receive theirs with reverence. By trying to digitally share contact info, Craig had essentially told the chairman, I couldn't be bothered to print proper business cards for you. But the real catastrophe happened at the welcome dinner that evening. I wasn't there, but Kenji met me for drinks afterward at a bar that seated only 12 people and served whiskey older than the iPhone. It was colorful, Kenji said, swirling his glass. Tell me. Morrison-san refused the seating arrangement. We placed her next to the operations vice president, appropriate for her rank. She insisted on sitting next to my father. She moved the place card herself. I winced. You never move your own place card in Japan. Ever. And then, Kenji continued, she poured her own sake. In Japan, you never pour your own drink. You pour for others, they pour for you. It's communal bonding. Pouring your own drink signals complete social isolation, that you need no one and take what you want. My father watched her, Kenji said quietly. Watched her pour the sake, spill some on the tablecloth, then slap my father on the back and say, let's crush this partnership. Please tell me she didn't say crush this partnership. The translator struggled. She rendered it as, let us aggressively pursue this alliance. My father asked if Americans always spoke of partnerships in violent terms. I felt genuine shame. Not for me, for my country. These people were representing America, and they were embarrassing everything I'd spent 25 years defending. It gets worse, Kenji said. When we presented our gift, a hand-forged katana from a living national treasure, symbolizing the cutting edge of our partnership, Morrison-san laughed. She asked if she could bring it on the plane. She made a reference to some movie. A katana from a living national treasure is priceless. It's a spiritual object. Making movie jokes about it is cultural vandalism. Then, Kenji sighed, she gave my father the speakers. She said, these have incredible bass response. You'll feel the music in your chest. To a man who's partially deaf. My father smiled. The smile he uses before terminating business relationships. He thanked her for the noise machines. Kenji looked at me across the small table. Anderson-san, my father asked where you were 4 times. Morrison-san said you were handling logistics stateside. She lied to his face, I know. Why would she lie? Because she thinks the contract is stronger than the relationship. She doesn't understand that if there's no trust, the ink won't stick to the paper. My phone buzzed. Text from Lance in legal. Garrett, are you in Tokyo? Looking at the MOU Clause 14B, Cultural Liaison Continuity Requirement, it specifically names you. Ashley just texted saying she nailed the dinner. If they discover we're in breach, we're finished. I showed the message to Kenji. He read it carefully, then looked up with a slow, dangerous smile. Clause 14B, he mused. Tomorrow is the signing ceremony. That's when truth must be spoken. The trap was set. Ashley had dug the hole and jumped in. Tomorrow, the earth would fall. The morning of the signing ceremony dawned clear and bright. Mount Fuji was visible in the distance, a perfect white cone against crystalline sky. In my hotel room, I dressed like I was preparing for inspection. Dark suit, conservative tie, everything precise and professional. In San Francisco, it was late evening. The panic was just starting. I checked my email one last time. Lance from legal had sent 3 messages, each more frantic than the last. Garrett, please call. Ashley isn't responding. The board is asking why the liaison continuity checkbox isn't verified in our compliance system. Did you sign a waiver? If you didn't sign a waiver and you're not employed, we technically don't have a deal structure. I didn't reply. I wasn't an employee anymore. I was a ghost. And ghosts don't answer compliance questions. I imagine Ashley in her hotel suite at the Tokyo Ritz-Carlton, probably hungover from the sake she'd poured herself, probably yelling at Craig to find the right cables for her presentation. She was probably practicing her signature, thinking about the promotion she'd buy a Tesla with. She had no idea that the legacy clause she'd mocked, the outdated bureaucracy she'd dismissed, was actually the load-bearing wall of the entire agreement. I took a taxi to Kobayashi headquarters in the business district. The building was a monolith of glass and steel, imposing and silent. I didn't go to the main lobby where Ashley's team was gathering. I used the executive entrance, scanning the QR code Kenji had sent me. "Good morning, Anderson-san," the security guard nodded. "It has been too long." "Too long, Sato-san," I agreed. I went up to the 35th floor observation deck that overlooked the main boardroom. It was a private viewing gallery, usually used for translators or junior staff to observe without cluttering the room. From behind the one-way glass, I looked down into the boardroom. Impressive space. A table long enough to land a small aircraft on. The Japanese side was already seated. 12 men in dark suits, hands on knees, sitting in perfect silence. In the center sat Chairman Tanaka, looking frail but sharp as a blade. On the table, directly across from the American side, sat an empty chair. Not just an empty spot, a specific chair with a nameplate that read Cultural Liaison Officer. The Japanese side knew exactly what they were doing. That chair was a test. The double doors opened. Ashley walked in, and even through soundproof glass, her energy was discordant. She strode forward, grinning, followed by Craig and two other terrified-looking associates. Ashley approached the table and reached out to shake Tanaka's hand. Tanaka didn't stand, didn't bow, just looked at her extended hand like it was something unpleasant he'd found on his shoe. Ashley pulled her hand back, awkwardly wiping it on her jacket. "Good morning," Ashley boomed. "Beautiful day for making history, right?" the translator whispered to Tanaka. Tanaka said nothing. Ashley looked around the table. She saw the empty chair. "Oh, hey," Ashley said, pointing at it. "We don't need that extra seat. Anderson isn't here anymore. You can just—" She actually reached out and grabbed the back of the chair to move it away. A collective gasp went through the Japanese side. Sharp, horrified intake of breath. Tanaka's eyes narrowed. Kenji, sitting to his father's right, stood up. "Morrison-san," he said, his English perfect and cold. "Please do not touch the chair." Ashley froze. Okay, just trying to make room. Didn't want it to look empty." "It is empty," Kenji said. "That is the point." Ashley laughed nervously. "Right. Symbolic. Very deep. Anyway, let's get to the signing. I have a flight at 6 p.m. I watched from the gallery, my heart hammering not from fear, but from pure anticipation of justice finally arriving. Ashley had just tried to physically remove the symbol of her company's honor. She sat down, opened her folder, uncapped her pen. "Okay," Ashley said. "Where do I sign?" She looked up. No one on the Japanese side had moved. They weren't opening their folders. They were staring at the empty chair like it contained the ghost of every broken promise in business history. The silence in that boardroom was so heavy it had physical weight. Ashley shifted in her seat, checked her watch, looked at Craig. "Is there a problem?" Ashley asked, voice higher than usual. "Do we need to wait for something?" Chairman Tanaka sat like a stone statue. He wasn't looking at Ashley. He was staring fixedly at the empty chair with the Cultural Liaison nameplate. Finally, Tanaka spoke. His voice was quiet, but carried the power of decades in business warfare. He spoke in Japanese. The translator, a young woman who looked like she wanted to be anywhere else on earth, cleared her throat nervously. "The chairman asks," she said carefully, "where is Anderson-san?" Ashley sighed with exaggerated impatience. "Okay, look, I told you guys, Anderson is unavailable. He's no longer with the project. We've streamlined our approach." "Efficiency, you know? Like Toyota Kaizen, right?" She threw out the buzzword like bait, hoping it would distract from the question. Tanaka didn't blink. He spoke again. "The chairman asks if Anderson-san is ill," the translator said. "No," Ashley said. "He's fine. He's just not here." "Look, with all due respect, Anderson was basically just a translator. I'm the VP of strategy. I have full authority to execute this agreement. We don't need him to hold the pen, just a translator." I saw Kenji's hand slowly form a fist on the table. Tanaka turned his head toward Ashley with the slow, deliberate movement of a battleship's main gun finding its target. "Anderson-san," Tanaka said, speaking English for the first time in our 8-year relationship, "knows my wife's name. Anderson-san knows my father's grave. Anderson-san is trust." He pointed a trembling finger at the empty chair. "No, Anderson-san. No trust." Ashley laughed again, but it sounded like choking. "Okay, that's very poetic, Chairman. Really touching. But we have a contract. We have an MOU. And frankly, we have a deadline." "Contract," Tanaka interrupted, switching back to Japanese and speaking rapidly now, his voice rising. The translator went pale. "The chairman says the contract includes Article 14B. It stipulates the presence of the designated liaison officer. He asks if you have terminated Anderson-san without the required 30-day notification for key personnel changes." Ashley froze. I could see the gears grinding in her head, searching for information that didn't exist because she'd never bothered to read the document she was trying to execute. Ashley said. "Legal handles the compliance details. I'm sure they sent notification." Tanaka looked at Kenji. Kenji nodded slowly. "We received no notification," Kenji said precisely. "However, we did receive a Google alert that your company filed a WARN notice listing international relations as eliminated. Is this accurate?" Ashley's face went from flushed to chalk white. "That's an internal HR matter." "It affects the honor," Tanaka said. The chairman stood up. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "You cannot hire soul," Tanaka said in English. He turned to face the empty chair, and then he bowed. Deep, respectful bow. "A bow you give to a valued equal." He held it for 3 seconds. Then he straightened, turned his back on Ashley, and walked toward the door. "We are finished," the translator whispered. "Wait!" Ashley shouted, chasing the 72-year-old man. "You can't destroy a $95 million partnership over one employee." Tanaka stopped at the door. He didn't turn around. "Deal was not money," Tanaka said. "Deal was people. You have no people." He walked out. The 12 executives followed in silent procession. Ashley stood alone, clutching her plastic pen next to the empty chair that had defeated her. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new office in Tokyo. My title is Executive Director of Pacific Strategy for Apex Global Consulting. Our partnership with Kobayashi Heavy Industries was signed last month, worth $120 million. Ashley was terminated the day after Tokyo. She sued for age discrimination, but the discovery phase revealed her emails calling experienced employees legacy deadweight. She settled quietly. My old company missed earnings by 15%. They laid off 30% of staff. I hired Nicole the day she got her notice. On my desk sits a framed copy of our partnership agreement, the final clause highlighted in gold by Tanaka himself. This agreement is founded upon the mutual trust established by Anderson-san. His presence is required for all future amendments. To anyone being told your experience is outdated, let them think that. Let them fire you for being old-fashioned. Then watch them bow to the empty chair, because the empty chair speaks louder than all their innovation combined.